Um, I'm just trying to decide if I'm comfortable even talking about that.
This one's wife. It gets worse for her. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. In the mind of this one's wife, the world revolves around her. Her narcissism makes her the most important person. Her narcissism causes her to expect that everybody is interested in her. Men want to bonk her. Women want to be her. That people want to listen to what she's got to say. They believe that she's fascinating, interesting, fun, humorous, charismatic. Her narcissism tells her that people are envious of her, that the people that criticize her are envious trolls who are racist and bigoted. Her narcissism tells her that other people ought to do what she wants because she is amazing. Her narcissism creates in her mind a belief that she ought to have her needs attended to without necessarily properly articulating them. That because she's so brilliant, people really ought just to understand what she wants and requires and ought to deliver it without hesitation or excuse. This mindset creates self-absorption on the part of the narcissist, that they are simply focused on themselves. And this often leads to the narcissist engaging in behavior which might be seen by others as unpleasant towards them, but is simply as a consequence of them having no consideration for other people because of the absence of their emotional empathy, i.e., it isn't deliberately unpleasant towards that person by commission, it's unpleasant by omission because the narcissist is focused on themselves. There are, of course, instances where an individual will come up on the radar of the narcissist and the narcissist is compelled to malignly manipulate them through acts of commission also. You might think that because the narcissist is so caught up in themselves that they wouldn't necessarily be particularly interested or bothered in the activity of others. To some extent, that is correct. But there are some individuals whereby the narcissist can adopt something of a malice obsession in relation to. This is the case with regard to Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales. Why? First of all, the Princess of Wales has the status of nemesis for two fundamental reasons. The first is that she is with Prince William, and secondly, because she embodies all of the things that this one's wife believes that she is. Kind, demure, elegant, magnetic. But that this one's wife believes that she doesn't get the credit for, and instead people are biased, favouring Catherine over her. And that simply isn't fair. The victim statement of her narcissism tells her that ought to be you. You're demure. You're magnetic. You're radiant and elegant, and yet they just spend their time criticising what you wear. Thus, she's entirely envious of the Princess of Wales, believing that not only should she be in that position herself, but also the plaudits and admiration that are exhibited towards Catherine should be hers also. Thus, she has gained the status of the nemesis, because she occupies the position that this one's wife believes ought to be hers, that Catherine is in the way, that Catherine is the enemy, that Catherine has become painted black. With regard to Prince William, he finds himself the subject of a malice obsession because he ought to have chosen this one's wife. Believe me, I have no doubt whatsoever that this one's wife will have made some attempt to seduce William. She'll have made eyes at him. She'll have flirted with him. She'll have been suggested towards him, because she has no emotional empathy for the fact that he's married, no emotional empathy towards Catherine, no emotional empathy towards Harry. Once the golden period was over with Harry and she entered into the sustained devaluation with regard to the Prince of Pink Pancakes, her narcissism essentially lifted the shackles. She became unfettered with regard to mistreating him by flirting with other people. And the ambition propagated by this one's wife narcissism will have caused her to seek out the position of becoming the Queen of England by marrying William. And the fact that William rebuffed her, that he didn't want anything to do with her, that in essence he saw her as a problem, not only amounted to a threat to control in itself, but it also denied, in the mind of this one's wife, the fact that she was denied something that was rightfully hers. She believes she should be with William. She believes that she should have all the plaudits and commendations and love and admiration that Catherine receives. And because she does not, this has generated a malice obsession in relation to those two individuals, so that she will frequently and regularly look upon what they are doing. Many narcissists you don't exist to. You'll have an interaction with them and then you're disengaged from or you're put on the shelf and the narcissist doesn't think about you perhaps ever again or for quite some time. And even then, the narcissist may not interact with you when you come back on the radar. But in certain instances, the narcissist has a preoccupation, driven by repeated appearances, and of course, because Catherine and William are two public individuals that are repeatedly reported about, there's plenty of opportunity for this one's wife to find out what they're doing, to almost see what they're doing out of the corner of her eye. And we know that she will, driven by this obsession, look to see what they're doing, and it repeatedly infuriates her. Earlier this year, it would have been advantageous for her with regard to the absence of Catherine and all of the hate that was being spilled towards her with regard to conspiracy theorists and their ridiculous theories about Catherine's absence. As we know, this one's wife did nothing, despite her self-proclaimed role as saviour of the internet. She did nothing to protect her sister-in-law or to castigate those that were criticising her. She did not do so because she has no emotional empathy for her sister-in-law, and it suited her purposes to see her attacked. Thus, this is the position that this one's wife is in. Two individuals that she frequently watches, looks about, reads about, and it really gets under her skin. And it's got worse for her because, of course, just recently, Catherine had her carol service. She hosted her annual Christmas carol service, the BBC reports, at Westminster Abbey. It was a candlelit festive occasion, but also with some poignancy, as it came at the end of a year of health problems for Catherine, and for some of the guests who have faced very difficult times. Among the 1,600 guests were families affected by the Southport knife attack, and a candle was lit by Olympic cyclist Sir Chris Hoy, who had a cancer diagnosis. The Prince of Wales joined Catherine at the service, along with the couple's 3 children, Prince George, Prince Louis, and Princess Charlotte. It was an atmospheric occasion in the medieval abbey, which was richly decorated in winter colours of red and green, with Christmas trees dotted around the ancient tombs and monuments. I didn't know this year was going to be the year that I've just had, but lots of people have had challenging times, Catherine said to singer Paloma Faith. Catherine wore a bright red coat, and when she saw the singer also wearing the same colour, she said, "It's a celebration. Everybody is wearing red." Princes George and Louis were both seen wearing red ties to match their mother's coat. The together at Christmas service was a mix of traditional carols, music and readings, with Catherine looking relaxed and greeting the performers when she arrived at the Abbey. The Prince of Wales read a lesson from the Bible, and actor Richard E. Grant performed a passage from A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. There were songs and carols from Paloma Faith, Olivia Dean and Gregory Porter in an event that will be broadcast by ITV on Christmas Eve. Accordingly, there was many in the congregation who'd been invited to thank them for their work in helping others in the communities. This included 18-year-old Olivia Bowditch from Dorset, who volunteers for a charity that sends letters to cancer patients at risk of being lonely and isolated. Also, there was Diven Haley from London, who has a serious lung condition but ran the London Marathon with an oxygen machine in a charity fundraiser. There were 4 World War II veterans attending, including Bernard Morgan from Crewe, aged 100, who landed in Normandy on D-Day. He's now an ambassador for the Royal British Legion and gives talks to schools about his wartime experiences. The theme of the service was the importance of kindness and empathy, and the congregation heard readings and prayers linking it to the story of Christmas. Guests received a letter from Catherine, who said that the Christmas message was about promoting love, not fear. There were other members of the royal family, including Princess Eugenie and Zara Tindall, who were in attendance. Accordingly, a flagship event for the Princess of Wales, which received considerable coverage. In a further instance, which is bound to infuriate this one's wife, Catherine was on The Sun, with the big picture of her, Kate Lights Up Christmas. She appeared in the Daily Mail on the side, Kate's Carol Service Royal Picture Special. She was the main picture on the Daily Telegraph's front page. Ditto The Times. The Mirror carried Kate's Abbey Christmas with a large picture of her and an inset picture of her and her family. The Daily Express had her on the front page, carrying Kate's message of Christmas hope. Boom, 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 boom. 6 covers, and there were more, demonstrating the popularity of the Princess of Wales, which of course would have had shrieks of anger and annoyance from this one's wife. But it continued to be a terrible weekend for her, because the one that got away met up with one of her detractors. Yes, the Prince of Wales met US President-elect Donald Trump while visiting France for the ceremonial reopening of Notre Dame Cathedral. Prince William joined the other dignitaries in Paris to mark the restoration of the world-famous landmark, which was devastated by a fire 5 years ago. After shaking hands at the ceremony, the pair also met afterwards with the President-elect, describing the Prince as a good man doing a fantastic job. Prince William was expected to discuss the importance of the US-UK special relationship with both Trump and the First Lady during their respective meetings. Greeting the Prince at the ceremony, Trump gave William a pat on the shoulder before the two shook hands and spoke for a few seconds. He last met Trump in 2019, when the then President made a state visit to the United Kingdom. William and Trump met at the residence of the British ambassador in Paris. The Prince was standing in the foyer when Trump arrived. The pair shook hands and greeted one another again. Prince William asked the President-elect if he had warmed up, and Trump replied that he had, and that it was a beautiful ceremony. Kensington Palace described the meeting between them as warm and friendly. During their 40 minutes together, William and Trump discussed a range of global issues, but focused on the importance of the UK-US special relationship. The President-elect also shared some warm and fond memories of the late Queen, for which the Prince was said to be extremely grateful. Thus, William is there on the world stage as the one that got away, chatting away with the increasingly powerful Donald Trump, who of course is no friend of this one's wife. It really was a hell of a weekend for her, as her nemesis demonstrated once again her elegance and popularity at the Carol concert, and the one that got away appeared on the world stage talking to the President-elect of the most powerful nation in the world. And what has this one's wife been doing? Walking up and down a red carpet with people trying to usher her off it. The comparison needs no further highlighting than that. It simply gets worse for her. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.